Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a beer from one of my favourite local breweries that, to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm even going to like. But as is the joy of reviewing beer, I need to review all sorts and not just the things that I think are going to be a big thumbs up. This is from Blue Monkey, of course, but this is a 6% Black Forest Sour. So it is a sour beer, and I'm not one of those people that says they don't like sour beers, because that's not true. There are some that are impeccable, but there also are some that, well, frankly, are horrendous. So I'm uneasy, I'll be honest. I'm slightly uneasy. And in sour terms, I mean, there's always bad beers of all styles out there, but, well, sours, I just feel like there's more that I'm personally less bothered about. So let's get into it, shall we? Before we break it open, here is a quick look at the can. It's in their new kind of craft can styling, and it looks very nice. Gone for the purple colourway on this can, as have I with the lights behind me. That actually was not a coincidence. I was bored and decided to change it. But around the can, as usual, info on the back there, which we'll get into a bit later. But yeah, a lovely looking thing. Right then, let's get it open. It was a bit lively and eye-opening, this one. Almost looks a bit like cola going into the glass there, except for the head on it. In the glass then, that is a properly dark beer. I'm not sure I've ever had a jet black sour before. If I hold it up to the light, there's just, well, yeah, there's a slight hue of purple, if anything, coming through at the bottom of the glass, but it's very low opacity. It's only just coming through. It's got a nice, I don't know, it's kind of a slightly pink-hued head to it. It's almost white, but there is definitely a bit of, yeah, a bit of a pinky complexion there. It's hanging around. It looks solid. It looks relatively clean and clear, actually. From the little bit of light that you can peer through at the bottom there, it doesn't look overly hazed, which I'm surprised about, because sour beers tend to be very hazy. So yeah, aroma time. Instantly you know it's a sour beer. It's got that slight potent acidity that, well, you just know from pretty much every sour beer you've ever had. And what I will say though in this is that it's not overwhelming. It's quite, subtle's the wrong word, because it's definitely very present, but it's not abrasive. It's got quite a nice fruit character to it. It said, what's it called? A Black Forest Sour. Now, while there's definitely notes of kind of blackberry, raspberry and that sort of stuff in there, weirdly, I don't know if this is a lactose beer or not, but there's a fusion of flavours going on, something to do with the acidity of the actual sourness and the berry flavours, and again, maybe lactose, maybe not, but there's some combo there that is almost leading down. Oh, what were they called? Right, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, showing my age a bit, there were little sweets. They were about yay big, and they were like a swirl of like vanilla cream and strawberry. They were Italian branded, I think, like Camp something. It's not like Campari, but it wasn't Campari. It was, anyway. I think you'll know what I'm talking about, and it smells a bit like they did. They had a really prominent odour, very sweet, very sickly, but fruity and sweet at the same time. Sorry, and fruity and kind of creamy at the same time. But this is following a bit that way. So yeah, let's give it a try, shall we? Cheers. Oh, sour. Oh, wow. I got lured into a false sense of security there, because on the nose it was coming across quite sweet, quite, yeah, not stringent at all, really very friendly, and ooh. It's been a while since I've had a sour beer, and this one tickles. First reaction though, once you get over that just intense, sour, tongue tickling thing, good fruit balance to it, but also I feel like I can taste the malt in this, which is something I don't think I've ever said about a sour beer before. Interesting. Very interesting. Right then, top to bottom taste test time. So, initially, Very sour, very almost like kind of Haribo Tangfastic sweets on the front of the tongue. That real kind of there's no luring you in and then sharpness at the back. It's right there up front. Huge, yeah, say sour sweet hit. Mid tongue as well. Super sour. It's gone from that kind of sour sweet thing at the front into the middle where it becomes tart berry, unsweetened blackberries, black currants, those kind of flavours all across the middle, and it's full. It's absolutely packed with flavour. The body, well, most sour beers aren't particularly thick unless they are actually filled with huge amounts of fruit content. This is no different. This doesn't have heaps of kind of fruit matter floating around in it, and as a result the body is maybe, I think it's harsh to call it thin, but it's not thick. It's probably, to be honest, what you'd really expect. But then after that middle phase where it's kind of, as I say, kind of slightly acidic and just strong, sour, unsweetened berries, you get to the back of the tongue, just before you swallow it, it's like, well, stepping back into that Italian sweet thing I mentioned before, the blend of kind of potent, not sweet but not too sour fruits. It's kind of almost like a true representation of eating raspberries, blackberries, strawberries when they aren't maybe overly sweet or underripened. There's a bit of sharpness, there's a bit of sweetness. It's a nice balance, but also mixed in with what feels like a bit of a nice, delicate vanilla cream. I mean, I don't know if this is a lactose beer. I don't think it is based on the body, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's something in the malt that's doing it. Maybe it's something to do with the elements within this that actually make it a sour beer, the sour component. I do wonder if the flavours of that are interacting a bit, and it's creating this weird, but to be honest, wonderful duet of flavours that, as I say, taste like those little Italian sweets. And then on the swallow, you start to understand the Black Forest element of this. It's almost like a Black Forest cheesecake, really, because again, that fruit and cream combo that we just talked about, that continues, but in comes this beautiful biscuity malt flavour that just underlines everything and is the thing that I said before I've never seen in a sour beer. And to be honest, that has always been my complaint of sour beers. Look, I get it. A beer doesn't have to taste like X, Y, or Z. It is just the brewing process, and it can taste like anything. But when you take away every single element of any traditional beer, I kind of lose interest because it doesn't scratch that beer itch for me. It just becomes an alcoholic fruit drink that happens to have been brewed in the same way that beer does. Doesn't feel like beer. It doesn't give me that. It doesn't give me the beer experience. This does. This has an absolutely beautifully robust, sweet malt finish that just plays with that fruit and that slightly vanilla cream thing. There might be no lactose or vanilla in this at all. I don't know, but that's the impression that I'm getting from it. And it is a sour beer. It tastes like a dessert in the glass, which is what a lot of people who like sour beers, I think, want. I might be wrong on that because I'm not one of those people. But from the flavours that seem to be very popular right now, that seems to be, I think, something very sweet, something very fruity. It delivers on all those fronts, but it also delivers that malt beer kick. Well, I said I might not like this. I was wrong. It's absolutely stunning. Right then, let's take a quick look at the can. On the front of the can then, Blue Monkey award-winning craft brewery. It says Black Forest Sour, 6% unfiltered and unfined. It's got a best before date of the 20th of the 6th, 2023, so it's a good 6 months left on this at this point. The hops are Magnum, Citra and Centennial. That's really interesting. I would never have picked Citra out in this, and I really don't like Citra, so I wonder how it's been used to create what effect, but it is something I had not expected at all. Now on to the bit we wanted to know about, ingredients. Now this is interesting. Water, obviously, barley, wheat, oats, which I think explains the mouthfeel on this a bit, because oats does help with body and mouthfeel, but it doesn't necessarily make it thick, it just makes it feel a bit more luscious, a bit more creamy on the tongue, but the actual consistency stays relatively still quite, I'm not going to say washy because that's the wrong word, but it doesn't necessarily create something that looks thick in the glass, but it feels like it is once you're consuming it, which, to be honest, is all that really matters. But then the hops that we've already mentioned, yeast, cacao nib, which I think is the explainer for that creamy vanilla flavour. Obviously, cacao nib is just raw chocolate, basically, and is normally more bitter, but I think that bitterness is getting washed away by the sour element, and as a result, you're just left with those other flavours, which, yeah, makes a lot of sense. And the sour cherry puree, which is really interesting, again, because there's no other fruit in this, it's just sour cherry, but it's giving not distinctly cherry vibes, it is more like a dark fruit berry compote. It's, yeah, that is, well, that is very, I mean, I'm surprised, but also I'm not, because these guys know what they're doing, and that is, to be honest, that's just a stunning drink. So who is this for? Well, this is a sour beer. Well, I'm going to say it's almost for anyone. If you like big fruity sours, I think you're still going to enjoy this. If you like the idea of sours but have been left a bit disappointed by the modern sour beer revolution, as I have, you're probably going to enjoy this. The only person who's really not going to take to this is someone who cannot stand sour notes whatsoever, because they're in there and they're plentiful. They're not insanely intense, but they aren't subtle either. They are just in there. But yeah, most people, I think, would not be disappointed. And that is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already subscribed, if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.